Hello, welcome to our live panel discussion, Adopting Your Infrastructure for Hybrid Multi-Cloud Environments. I'm Barbara Call, Senior Director of Content Strategy and Operations at IDG, and I'll be your host and moderator for today's panel discussion. Today, we'll be talking about adopting your infrastructure for hybrid multi-cloud environments. The adoption of hybrid multi-cloud is growing, and for good reason. The benefits are quantifiable, from improving availability to increased flexibility. At the same time, however, many organizations need to reassess, modify, or overhaul their network infrastructure to better facilitate application delivery from multiple clouds. I'd like to introduce today's panelists. First up, John Burke, CIO and Principal Research Analyst at Nemertes Research. Welcome, John.
Good morning, Barbara. Pleasure to be here.
Next up, we have Abhilash Verma, Vice President of Product Management at Citrix Networking. Welcome, Abhilash.
Good morning, Barbara. Glad to be here.
And last but certainly not least, a warm welcome to Geoff Knaak, Technical Manager of Operations from Aria Systems. Nice to have you, Geoff.
Good morning, Barbara. Glad to be here.
So before we begin today's presentation, I have a few housekeeping items I want to run through. First, all the windows you see on your screen are customizable. That means you have control over the layout of the webcast. You can resize any of the windows by clicking and dragging from the edges of the corners. If you happen to close any of the windows, the icon and taskbar at the bottom of the screen will open them immediately. You can ask questions at any time by using the Q&A window. Just type your question into the Ask a Question field and hit the Submit button. We encourage your questions, so please take advantage of this. We'll answer as many questions as we can towards the end of the webcast. If you have any issues with the video, audio, or slides during the webcast, the best troubleshooting advice is to simply refresh your browser. If you need further technical assistance, submit a question in the Q&A window, then expand the window to make sure you can see the response. The slides for today's presentation are available for download in the Handouts window. And certainly not, but not least, be sure to complete the short survey prompted at the end of the webcast. Those who do will be entered to win a Lenovo Smart Display with Google Assistant. We'll be notifying the winner via email. So now, to get things started, I'd like to hand things over to John Burke. John?
Thanks very much, Barbara. Always a pleasure to get to speak on a topic close to my heart like this. So I'm going to talk today about delivering applications in the hybrid multi-cloud enterprise. I'll start by first introducing myself and the company that I work for, Nemertes Research, and something about the source of the data that you'll see for the rest of the part of the talk that I'm giving. And then we'll talk about how most organizations are already multi-cloud, how a multi-cloud organization needs cloud-ready applications, and how application delivery controllers play a central role in transitioning folks from hybrid service delivery to a true multi-cloud environment. So first, a word about Nemertes. We are a research and strategic consulting firm that analyzes the business value that organizations realize by deploying emerging technologies. And our primary mode of research is to interview IT professionals who are deploying newer technologies and discussing with them the value that their organizations are realizing by deploying those technologies, the challenges they face in deploying them, and how they overcome those challenges. And our goal throughout is to quantify the benefits that folks are managing to get from their deployment of these new kinds of services. And one of the things that we've been tracking for the last many years now, I think going back to 2008, is the use of external clouds. And the key critical fact that everybody needs to realize is that they're already in a hybrid, really a multiple cloud service delivery environment, and that already, nearly 100% of them are using SaaS applications, for example, to deliver key enterprise functionality to their end users. 2/3 are now using infrastructure as a service or platforms as a service, IaaS, PaaS, to deliver, again, key enterprise functionality to their end users. And about 37% are using specialized flavors of platform services, application platform services, or integration platform services to help increase the pool of application developers in their organizations, to help increase the scope of integration activities to encompass not just on-premise applications, but cloud applications. And they're using all of these different avenues of delivering a service in order to provide services to an increasingly diverse set of users, not just folks who are on the enterprise's own private wide area network, but also users who are connecting only over the internet, whether they're in a small branch office that's not connected to the WAN, or they're in their home or traveling and working from a hotel or from a client or a partner site or from a train or a cab stuck in traffic. And increasingly, they're using these services to deliver data from or use the environment to control edge services and infrastructure, Internet of Things type services. So security and environmental monitoring, remote control systems, and a variety of other IoT-based technologies that sometimes are controlled from a cloud service, that sometimes are delivering data into a cloud application for analysis and further action, and that in all cases are part of this increasingly complicated service delivery envelope that's been hybridized for a decade now, and that is increasingly diverse. Also, and I think this is a really critical thing, for the first time, 2019 is the watershed year. For the first time, the average enterprise is doing most of its work outside its own data centers now. So most of the enterprise workload is being delivered not from the data center, only 40% of it lives there now, but from external cloud environments, 27% in SaaS, 29% in IaaS or PaaS, or from outside the data center in some kind of branch or edge facility. So we're seeing that where the work of the enterprise is getting done is getting spread out further and further, and where the enterprise is delivering its work is getting spread out further and further, and that this makes for an excessively complex environment for most IT organizations, and that what they need to do now in a very mindful way, what they need to plan and execute, is a conversion from this hybrid service delivery environment that's just sort of come upon them over the last 10 years as they've shifted one service and then another, as a business line has gone out and gotten a cloud service, as they've merged with another company or spun off a company, and their service environment has been built out of pieces that have been stuck together, basically, or calved off of other people's infrastructures. They need to go from a planful way from that kind of environment that's just grown into something that is by design delivering and executing as a single thing, as a multi-cloud. So when we talk about the hybrid multi-cloud enterprise or the hybrid multi-cloud, the HMC, that's what we're talking about. We mean something that is tied together with a common platform for orchestration of workloads across environments, for the automation of use of different environments when the situation is appropriate, for applying security consistently across all environments, and for delivering both to the users and to IT as administrators of this hybrid multi-cloud, a consistent environment, one that delivers consistently, one that can be managed consistently, because that makes it much easier and more sustainable for IT to deliver services in this environment, makes it possible, in fact, to function in a robust way in a hybrid multi-cloud world. So things that our research has uncovered as having very strong positive correlations with successful service delivery in a multi-cloud environment include using a workload placement process, you're going to look at every workload that comes up, whether it's a new thing that one of the business lines wants to do or a refresh on an existing enterprise application, and you're going to put it through a consistent set of questions, basically. What kind of SLA do I need to provide on this? Who's going to use it? What levels of performance do I need to promise in order to deliver this service successfully? And you're going to put that workload in the correct place in order to meet all of its needs, whether that's in the data center or in an IaaS environment or using a PaaS platform to deliver it or switching to SaaS in order to deliver it. Being consistent about that across all the workloads that the enterprise needs to manage reduces risk and improves cloud application delivery success by 42%. That's a 42% reduction, basically, in the amount of downtime the enterprise experiences in the year in delivering services. Using a cloud service broker. Cloud service brokers put a workload in an environment for you and can help you set up rules in advance for which environment did you go into at any given moment. I'm needing to deliver this with a lower cost for the next 6 months. The cloud service broker will know which of your cloud options will give you the lowest costs, and you can press a button, deploy into that environment, or set it up to make the movement automatically if you've developed that level of trust with it. Using a cloud service broker can improve cloud application delivery success by 92%. Using a cloud management platform, this lets you manage the infrastructure inside your data center like a cloud platform and makes it much easier for all your other tools to deploy workloads into that environment and basically use it in the same way that they will use external cloud environments. That can improve security in your data center. It definitely improves your ability to automate and improves overall success by 41%. Using a cloud access security broker. This is a tool that brings consistent policy and access rules and enforcement to your use of external cloud environments and can improve cloud delivery success by 32%. And lastly, using an SDN environment inside your data center across your wide area network in your cloud environments. Improve security, improve automation, and overall boost cloud application delivery success by a whopping 56%. So these are all success practices in the multi-cloud and things that you need to be considering. Beyond those, you need to be looking at the applications themselves and thinking about either building or acquiring applications that are truly cloud ready. And that means that they'll be easier to deploy in an internal or an external cloud environment or spread across multiple external or internal cloud environments because they are built from the ground up around a microservices architecture composed of many interacting, cohesive, but loosely coupled functional units, little containerized pieces of functionality that handle a small part of the overall function of the application. And because they're small, they tend to be easier to develop without bugs, easier to manage over time. In that fashion, you can scale them independently of each other. So if you're starting to really load up on front-end interactions because you're running a promotion, you've got lots more people hitting the website and starting the process of engaging your services, you can scale up the parts of the infrastructure that handle that without having to scale up all the other parts until there's a need. And then if the spike in interest passes, you can scale back down again, and you can scale all of your components independently of each other and scale horizontally. You don't spin up a bigger instance of something, you just spin up more instances of that thing. You can run those components anywhere because they'll talk to each other across the network, and you can distribute not just the functions of your application, but the data, so that when something goes wrong, and something always goes wrong, we know this from our experience in the data center, we know this from our experiences in the cloud, the overall service can continue to deliver because new instances of functionality that have gone offline can be spun up somewhere else and bring you back online, often without your end users actually noticing anything but a slight delay or a need to reload a page. About half of organizations are already using microservices in their own development efforts, and a substantial number of cloud applications are being developed in this fashion so that they are now multi-cloud ready. So in this environment, enterprises need to be harnessing all the tools that they have available to them. Cloud management platforms are one of them that we've mentioned. Cloud service brokers are another. One that they've already typically got on hand, almost all organizations of any size have on hand, application delivery controllers. And these have been harnessed for everything from secure access to enterprise applications to load balancing across back-end systems. And ADCs can be used to help provide that layer of multi-cloud management, security, and automation that's critical to being consistent in delivering services to your end users wherever they are out of a multi-cloud environment, because they can provide a single point of access to applications no matter where they're hosted. One point of access that lets you enforce policy for people, whether they're accessing something in your data center, out in Amazon or Azure, or off in a SaaS environment like Salesforce, that lets you present a consistent set of applications to any of your end users, no matter how they're coming in, whether they're in a branch office on the WAN or sitting on the internet somewhere in a train station, waiting for the next Acela train. The point is that they give you that point for being consistent, that point for automating, and that point for enforcing enterprise policy, as well as a way to balance load across different environments that are offering the same services. And they are critical to the function of cloud native applications, especially ones that you deliver yourselves, that you develop for yourselves, because they provide a key layer of functionality in that microservices architecture. They distribute the load across the instances that are delivering a service. And so if you add more instances, your ADC is what's going to spread the load out across them. If you're shutting down instances because the spike of demand is passed, your ADC is going to be redirecting requests to the ones that remain active. And in fact, your ADC may be the thing that's telling all those components that the spike in demand is passing. It can play that kind of a critical role in the architecture as well. Also, in this role, they can play a critical security function, providing for authentication of service components, providing for logging and even manipulation of messages passing among components to enforce security policies or to provide audit trails for folks who need those things in their environments. And so with that kind of stage setting done, I will hand the baton back to Barbara and we'll proceed. Thank you.
Thanks, John. That was great. So I'd like to hand today's discussion now over to Abhilash for this portion of his webcast.
Thank you, Barbara. John, thanks very much for setting the stage. You covered pretty much a lot of details on what customers are doing with hybrid multi-cloud, where are they in their journey, about the cloud native applications. So a lot of great details. So folks, my name is Abhilash Verma. I represent Citrix here, and I'm a VP of Product Management for the Application Delivery Controller product line for Citrix. And I'm going to run you through what our customers are experiencing in terms of the hybrid multi-cloud networking and how Citrix is helping customers go through this journey. Let us start with understanding the evolution of data centers. So we have seen the data center evolve over the last several years. I think John mentioned, like as back as 2008, we saw the journey towards cloud. But essentially, what you saw in the beginning was to have a server infrastructure in a fixed data center, and then you saw a bunch of new software components coming in, like the hypervisors, which changed the way the data centers worked, and you transitioned from the hardware-based data center to more of what we call the software-defined networks and software-defined data centers. And technologies like VMware, Cisco help do the software-defined automation. And essentially today, the inclusiveness of the server infrastructure, your hypervisor layer, and the software-defined network and automation you can provide with it is essentially called the private cloud. At the same time, we did see the public cloud dimension coming up. So we saw AWS coming up, followed by Azure, and then we have GCP now and a bunch of other cloud vendors. What we're trying to represent here is you have customers who went through the standalone static server infrastructure journey all the way to hypervisor-based software-defined network journey on the private cloud side, started moving to the public cloud infrastructure, and the similar set of vendors like VMware and Cisco and Citrix and many other vendors started to come together with their portfolio to help the transition of our customer workloads to public and private cloud. So essentially, this is how we look at the evolution of data center to what we call today the hybrid and multi-cloud environment. But what's next, right? So what's next is the public cloud vendors coming in to the data center world with their references to private cloud, which is like AWS coming with the Outpost, Azure Stack from Microsoft, and Anthos from Google, essentially saying that, hey, we are not just public cloud, we will also connect back to your on-prem, the private cloud world. So it's like all single connected world, right? So essentially, in the next generation, you will see all of these technologies and infrastructure connected like in a single piece. When we look at some of the leading analysts like Gartner, some of these statistics are really important to consider. Like 75% of the organizations will adopt multi-cloud strategy by 2021. I think John mentioned it. We already see organizations moving on with the hybrid and multi-cloud strategy. By 2021, we will see more than 75% organizations having adopted it. But at the same time, there is a concern which comes in and says that less than 10% of the organizations will have the real advantage of portability in the same timeline. So which means that while you go hybrid multi-cloud, which is essentially the ability to run your workload from any infrastructure, at the same time, you may not have all the benefits of being portable, which essentially brings in the challenges where how do you take your stack and network and application portfolio from one cloud to another cloud or one infrastructure to another infrastructure. This is what we as a vendor at Citrix focus on. And we understand there are several drivers for hybrid multi-cloud. Nobody wants to be locked down with a single infrastructure provider or cloud vendor. Hybrid provides you choice. You have better automation for agility. When you want to move out to a cloud, you can come back on-prem. You can bring back the payload to your data center. You can do orchestration for seamless operations, which is where you don't want to depend on someone going and doing that click-through. Rather, you want the automation scripts and your infrastructure to take care of the entire workflow. And very importantly, in this hybrid and multi-cloud world, you want data-driven decision-making, which comes in from analytics and machine learning services and value most of the organizations are working through today. At Citrix, we have defined certain solution principles for hybrid and multi-cloud. Number one, we begin with, we do not lock in with any single vendor. We support all critical private and public cloud vendors. We maintain operational consistency. What I mean by operational consistency is immaterial of which infrastructure or which cloud you go to, we have a common code base which can run from any infrastructure. It provides you a common set of functions and APIs, which essentially means that you can go to any infrastructure without having to worry about how you are going to change your ADC routines and automation around ADC, because we are infrastructure or cloud agnostic. We run the same code, same set of function and APIs, which provides you operational consistency across hybrid multi-cloud. We also have the Citrix ADM providing you single pane of glass. It provides you visibility on the infrastructure and applications across hybrid multi-cloud, which is very, very important for you to make data-driven decisions. We encompass the application and API security within our hybrid and multi-cloud initiative, which means that we are not just focused on delivering application, but we are also have the security functions to make sure that while we deliver the applications through hybrid and multi-cloud context, they are secure and they have the best possible security defined for the end users and clients. And then let me talk about the investment protection. Investment protection is really important for our customers because most of the customers who are investing today in the technology, they have this open question on their mind that, hey, where I'm going to go take this technology tomorrow? Today, I buy it for one of the clouds. Will it work on the second cloud? Today, I buy it for my private infrastructure. Can I take it to the public infrastructure? We have a licensing scheme defined called pool licensing, which provides investment protection. You can purchase the Citrix ADC capacity based on pool, and you can reallocate this pool to run in your infrastructure, in the private cloud, in the public cloud, in essentially any hybrid and multi-cloud infrastructure. You can run the same licensing scheme without having to come back to Citrix. So we are essentially trying to unify our approach to application delivery, right? If you see the current state, it's more manual, it's not consistent in terms of operational efficiency, fragment security, limited statistics, because the current approach does not use a lot of data-driven analytics and reactive troubleshooting, to where we are going with the desired state. And this desired state is where Citrix is focused on, with complete automation, consistent configuration and operational schemes, consistent security posture, unified visibility, and proactive observability for your 3-tier as well as cloud-native deployments. Citrix ADM becomes the central console for us, which can work with any application, whether they are the monolith applications or the microservices-based application, any environment, which could be private, public, or hybrid cloud, and any ADC form factor, which includes physical, virtual, multi-tenant, bare metal form factor. And ADM provides you a comprehensive solution for configuration, monitoring, troubleshooting, automation, and analytics, which work hand in hand with your journey to hybrid and multi-cloud. So to summarize the take at Citrix for hybrid and multi-cloud application delivery, we essentially enable our customers to go anywhere. We reduce the risk the customers may face through this journey. We empower the ADC owners, and we provide you peace of mind, because that is the most critical component when you are going through your hybrid and multi-cloud journey, because many times these infrastructures are not controlled and owned by you. So, you are worried about, hey, how it's going to work. And we help our customers achieve these 4 critical milestones that we enable them to transition from one infrastructure to another infrastructure. We reduce the risk by providing architectural flexibility, integrated application and API security, better performance and scale. We empower our application delivery owners with the ability to centrally manage your entire hybrid multi-cloud deployment, the ability to provide you orchestration and automation benefits through ADM, and we provide peace of mind with investment protection, because once you invested in Citrix ADC portfolio, you don't worry about how long your license is going to work, whether it's on-prem or on cloud. You can transition your license to the next infrastructure you want to go to with pool licensing without ever having to come back to Citrix and getting a new license issued or paying again for the same context. So with that, I would like to hand it over back to Barbara.
Great. Thank you, Abhilash. That was very informative. So now I'd like to introduce Geoff for his portion of the webcast. But first, some background about Aria Systems and the challenges they faced. This may sound familiar to some of you. Aria needed to simplify its user experience. Customers were finding it hard to stay on top of all of their different apps, the different platforms, and the different versions of those apps. Aria's business objective was pretty straightforward: improve the customer experience, and that would increase productivity. So Geoff's here to tell us today about how Citrix ADC solved those challenges for Aria Systems. Geoff, over to you.
Thanks, Barbara. Am I coming in good here? So I'm going to start with my slides here, titled Aria Systems and Citrix ADC in the AWS Cloud. It's going to be more of a specific presentation of how the ADC relates to Aria's infrastructure. So go to the next slide here. Citrix ADC and Aria applications in the EC2 cloud. ADCs provide a single point of redundancy management for Aria's AWS infrastructure solution. So there are various strategies you can undertake for high availability and redundancy. And at Aria Systems, the NetScaler ADC is the solution for most of those HA redundancy solutions. So our active monetization platform requires the rapid allocation and deallocation of EC2-based resources without sacrificing uptime. So in other words, we have to rapidly spin up and shut down services and instances as the load demands it. So by using the ADCs as the gateway to all these resources, John and Abhilash already touched on these points earlier, basically maximize the amount of control you have over those resources. So by adding, upgrading, and removing components, it can be done seamlessly by interfacing with the single platform, and that platform being the NetScaler ADC. So most of Aria is glueware, the software we've written to manage the deployment and management and upgrading of our EC2 cloud components interact with the Citrix ADC when they're doing that. So when we're spinning up things and shutting down things, our glueware interacts with the NetScaler to make those services available or not available as necessary. So all of this has helped Aria Systems achieve a high success rate in meeting our customer SLAs. So next slide is about PCI compliance. It's a big, important thing for our company and for our customers to know that their transactions are being handled securely. So it's not just application functionality that the Citrix ADC helps us deliver to our customers, but security too. Very important. And what the ADC delivers the security and functionality under one hood, under one convenient platform. So, as I said earlier, the ADCs are a major player in achieving PCI compliance for our company. For instance, single point of focus point for TLS management. So we have to manage certificates, cipher groups, all kinds of different SSL and TLS settings. We can manage them with NetScaler ADC. We manage it all in a single framework. So, and anyone who's gone through several PCI audits know that standards change every year. Certain versions of TLS, SSL are end of life. Certain ciphers are supported 1 year, not supported the next year. So standards change. It's very convenient to have a single management framework, pane of glass, where you can make those changes and be compliant in the very without too much hassle, basically. So also other PCI requirements that the NetScaler ADC helps us achieve. We use it for VPN, two-factor authentication, application firewall, all those requirements for PCI compliance. NetScaler ADC provides all those solutions for us. So it does a lot of things for us, basically. And the proper management of the ADC gets a lot of these PCI boxes checked off for us. And also, last slide here, going to be talking about a new licensing model we're moving to this year that's a little more cloud-friendly, vCPU licensing. So this quarter in 2019, 4Q 2019, 1Q 2020, we're transitioning from static licenses over to virtual CPU licenses. So Aria's ADCs have all kinds of requirements which have to network interface requirements, bandwidth requirements. The EC2 instances we're running have certain needs in order for the applications to function correctly. Here we go. This thing is not. Oh, there we go. So anyone who's worked in the Amazon cloud basically knows that Amazon EC2 instance types. I mean, they're very convenient, but they lack a certain flexibility. So you have applications which have certain, number of interfaces, bandwidth requirements, CPU requirements, memory requirements, and these EC2 instances are kind of they're not tailor-made exactly to the demands of your application. So what you end up having to do often is over-allocate. Get an instance with has sufficient memory but too many CPUs, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a little lack a certain little flexibility of sizing. So with these vCPU licenses, we can allocate those excess resources rapidly when we experience increased traffic. So, and it's also a more cost-friendly model for Aria Systems. The price of our CPU licenses is less than the static licenses that we currently own and are transitioning from. So, thank you. That's slides and the solutions that the Citrix NetScaler ADC provides to Aria Systems and the value it's provided to our company over the years.
Thank you, Geoff, for a nice overview of Aria System and how Citrix ADC is helping Aria transition to hybrid multi-cloud. I'm really glad to see that our products and technologies are coming together to help you. I have a few questions, if you don't mind, Geoff. Would you like to tell us about how are you able to match the scale and performance as you take your app to public cloud infrastructure?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Could you ask the question again?
Sure, Geoff. The question is, how are you able to take your applications to public cloud infrastructure with the scale and performance required for the applications?
Well, our application has good horizontal scalability, I would describe it, and the Citrix ADC product is definitely a factor in making that happen. So basically, when we spin up additional web services, when load demands it, we update the configuration of our ADCs to make those services visible to our customers. And fortunately, because of the way the ADC is designed, that's a very easy thing to do. Citrix provides a robust API for updating ADCs from our infrastructure management hosts. And the Citrix ADC configuration facilitates the proper abstraction of service definitions. So with this built-in intelligence that the ADC provides, simply by adding a host name and a port in the right place, ensures that a fairly complex set of rules and monitors are applied instantly and correctly.
Thank you, Geoff. That was a wonderful response. My next question to you is how important it is for you to have the ADC and the web application firewall functionality under the same platform, because you covered the use cases of security and compliance while you move your application.
Yeah, and your application firewall is important function for a secure application. So I'm not gonna evangelize about what every business in the world should be doing. There's arguments for and against running application delivery on the same platform, not on the same platform. It's not too difficult to separate application delivery and application firewall into separate platforms, and generally a fan of modular design in both applications and infrastructure. I'm sure a lot of companies do it that way, some of them with good reasons, but there are also some definite advantages to having both these critical infrastructure functions underneath the same hood, so to speak. Of course, the biggest advantage is manageability. So when you have application delivery and application firewall running on the same platform, and in many cases on the same devices, your application firewall configuration can be more tightly integrated with the configuration of your application. So do it like we do it at Aria Systems, where we run app firewall on the same devices as our load balancers. The configuration of our app firewall makes direct references to the application objects defined in the non-app firewall part of our NetScaler ADC devices. So we don't have to make a humongous extra effort to align the configuration of two separate device platforms to ensure the correct services are being protected. So it makes troubleshooting easier. The ADC logging tells us instantly which services are being affected by events generated by the application firewall. So if we're experience an intrusion event and I'm looking at application firewall logs and what's being hit, it's all under the same pane of glass, and I know pretty much right away what's being affected because the application delivery and the application firewall are in the same place. So they know about each other, basically. So to wrap it up, I guess with most enterprise undertakings, things that make your life easier, and having them together makes life easier. Also, at the end of the day, makes you more secure.
Thank you, Geoff. That was a very informative response, and it's glad for our viewers to understand how you're able to use the ADC and application firewall functions together under a single umbrella to have better manageability, automation, configuration independence, and that gives you essentially operational simplicity to have to run both these functions together. So thank you for your response. Barbara, back to you.
Great. Thanks. That was very informative. So let's sum up today's discussion with some key takeaways. Abhilash, would you like to start off here?
Sure, Barbara. It has been a great discussion this morning. John and Geoff and myself, we all went through our experiences of how customers are moving to hybrid multi-cloud. Some of my key takeaways are that, and I think John as well articulated, and Geoff also talked about what is happening at Aria, is that all of us are in the journey of hybrid and multi-cloud today, right? There is no question about it. Some of us are advanced, which means that we are using multiple providers and multiple infrastructure. Some of us are learning to get there. But today, or all the way to 2021, all of us are going to get into this journey. Consistency and portability across hybrid multi-cloud is what is going to matter the most, because when you are running your application workloads across multiple clouds, across different infrastructures, you don't want different experience. What you want is same experience, operational consistency. You expect what to expect across different infrastructures because you don't have those large teams or those different softwares which you will use to manage your portfolio across different infrastructures. So being consistent is the key, and the stack, which is portable, is going to run across multiple infrastructure and make the customer successful. At Citrix, we really worry about consistency and portability in our hybrid multi-cloud initiative. And that's the reason we separated out the Citrix ADM, which is focused on operational aspects like configuration, deployment, automation, provisioning, analytics, and Citrix ADC, which is essentially the data plane and provides you the proxy functionality. So the Citrix ADC and Citrix ADM for us and our customers come together and provide this excellent experience of moving to hybrid and multi-cloud.
Okay, great. John, over to you for a couple of key takeaways.
Certainly. And as Abhilash was just saying, we see in our research and have for some time that most enterprises are already living and working in a hybrid service delivery environment and are now on the cusp of needing to make a true multi-cloud out of that environment if they're going to be able to keep going, basically, and that they need new levels of automation and consistency and function and the ability to deliver security that spans those environments that they take advantage of, and that application delivery controllers can play key roles in knitting together true multi-cloud environments, both in providing a consistent way into applications and in providing critical infrastructure functions for cloud-ready applications or applications deployed across multiple clouds.
Okay, so we have some time for some questions from the audience. Question number one, why should I be multi-cloud? Can't I just go all in with one provider?
I'll dive in there. That ship sailed a long time ago. The breadth of things that people want to do necessitate being in multiple clouds across multiple SaaS providers at a minimum, and typically for reasons both functional and cultural across multiple IaaS and PaaS providers as well. They need different things for different categories of applications or different classes of users or groups of users, and they wind up one way or another working across multiple cloud environments. They're almost always going to say, this one's my primary, but I have to do a few things in that one. When it comes to IaaS, they're less likely to do that in PaaS and in SaaS. They're likely to have multiple primary or strategic SaaS or PaaS providers, but yeah, they're definitely firmly in a space where they need to be in multiple clouds to some degree. You know, nobody's 50-50 that we've ever seen, but we've seen, 70-30s and 90-10s a lot. So yeah, they need to be in multi-cloud because of what they need to do, basically.
Hi, I'd just like to add a couple of specific points to John's statement as to why companies are compelled to go multi-cloud instead of just sticking with one provider. Firstly, SaaS companies like Aria Systems have customers that aren't necessarily cloud provider agnostic. For example, as great as Amazon's solution is, they have competitors that prefer that their mission-critical software not run on AWS servers. So when you can run your solution in multiple clouds, means you can sell your product to a more diverse group of businesses, which gives you a definite competitive edge in today's market. Secondly, location can be an issue too. Cloud providers try very hard to have a point of presence in as many places in the planet as possible, but they all aren't everywhere yet, and different providers have a different selection of locales. So using multiple cloud providers gives you a better geographical selection of where you choose to run your solution, and this can have important implication when dealing with things like disaster recovery solutions and data export laws too.
Thank you, Geoff, and thank you, John. So here's our next question. How does Citrix help existing deployments transition to hybrid multi-cloud?
Sure, Barbara, I can take that up. Citrix is absolutely building the technology and the application stack with help of the application delivery controller and application delivery management product ecosystem to help our customers transition to hybrid multi-cloud. Some of the things I wanted to highlight is, the single licensing scheme, the pool licensing we talked about, and the vCPU licensing, which Geoff articulated. Like these licensing schemes are, are created for hybrid multi-cloud environment. They can work as much as on your on-prem deployment, your private cloud deployment, or you can take them to public cloud, and you can transition. I mean, today you can run half of your licensing on your infrastructure, which is on-prem, and half on cloud. And tomorrow you want to shift everything to cloud, we promote that, right? So our licensing promotes customers to transition to hybrid multi-cloud. ADM, again, which provides a single console for configuration, deployment, provisioning, automation, and analytics. It works across hybrid multi-cloud. So if you have your ADCs running on-prem, or you have your ADCs running in AWS or Azure, through a single ADM console, you can manage all of your ADCs, orchestrate them, automate them, and also get analytics for what is going through the ADCs. And I think the third thing I wanted to highlight is that we support all clouds and all vendors, and we are very agnostic in that in that part of our product ecosystem where we build similar capabilities for all of the public and private cloud vendors we support. So, for example, if you do ADC autoscale using ADM for AWS, when you move to Azure, you have same set of functionality consistently available through our product ecosystem, which enables you to not worry about your transition from one infrastructure to another infrastructure, hence supporting the entire move to hybrid and multi-cloud.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So we have another question from the audience here. How does Citrix provide migration of application configurations from one cloud to another?
Well, I can pick that up. So I think we have really simplified it, using ADM, because what we do in ADM is we have a construct called stylebooks, and the stylebooks is all about templatizing your application, its configuration, the deployment details, and automation details. And we very recently built one of our infrastructures to migrate the applications using the stylebooks from any environment, any infrastructure to any other infrastructure. So if you have a ADC running on-prem and you have an application which is delivered through the ADC, you can use the ADM, go pinpoint to the application, and this infrastructure, the migration infrastructure, builds all the dependencies for the application, the entire configuration, the automation dependencies. It takes it down in a nice automated template, and it also moves the entire application construct to the next ADC, which could be running in AWS, Azure, or whichever other infrastructure, right? So you can point, as simple as you can point the two ADCs and point the application and say, hey, I want to move this application from ADC X, which is running in my on-prem data center, to ADC Y, which is running on AWS. And this migration utility does it beautifully. So essentially, we understand the use case. Every single customer is going through application migration. So these are the kind of utilities and tools we build to support the calls for application migration and hybrid multi-cloud environments.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you. So we have one more question from the audience I think we have time for today. Why is Citrix ADM relevant to hybrid multi-cloud? And is this available in the cloud?
Well, I would like to take this question to begin with, and I'm sure John and Geoff can add on to it. It's very exciting question because when you say, hey, I can build, automate, orchestrate, and run my entire ADC infrastructure for hybrid multi-cloud using ADM, where does ADM run? So ADM as a product is available to run on-prem, as well as we have a cloud service, Citrix ADM service, operational and supported from the last 2 years, more than 2 years. So it's been more than 2 years that our customers use Citrix ADM service, which is a cloud service, to enable the transition of applications from on-prem to cloud. And they also use the Citrix ADM service to manage their applications across multiple distributed infrastructure. They are able to orchestrate the ADC workload and also do automation for ADC workload across these distributed infrastructures. So if you ask me, is ADM relevant? Absolutely. ADM is like the brain of the hybrid multi-cloud ecosystem and product initiative which we have at Citrix.
And for my part, I can say that that's a category of cloud service broker services. And as we saw in my part of the presentation, there's a really strong correlation between deploying and using those services and achieving high levels of success in delivering applications to your end users.
Okay, great. So thanks, folks. That's all we have time for today. For any questions that we're unable to answer, we will circle back and follow up via email. So in closing, I'd like to thank our speakers. John Burke, CIO and Principal Research Analyst at Nemertes Research. Abhilash Verma, Vice President of Product Management at Citrix Networking. And Geoff Knaak, Technical Manager of Operations at Aria Systems. I'd also like to thank our listeners. Thank you for joining us and your participation. We hope you found this valuable. Now, about the Lenovo Smart Display with Google Assistant. In just a moment, a survey will appear on your screen. Please take a moment to complete the survey in order to be entered to win. We'll be contacting the winner via email. So I'll close. Thank you again, and have a great day.